Hi, everybody, and welcome to the seventh season of the Middle Grades Collaborative Conversations. This is a discussion format webinar where we discuss how things are going in our schools and our partnering organizations. This work is sponsored by the Middle Grades Collaborative and also the Tarrant Institute for Innovative Education. My name is Don Taylor. I have a new role this year. I'm teaching sustainability at Main Street Middle School in Montpelier, and I'd like to have our co-hosts and contributors introduce themselves. I'll start by asking Lindsay to go first, then Kevin, and then Meg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Hallman. I'm the Executive Director of Up for Learning, Unleashing the Power of Partnership for Learning.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Peely-Hunt. I'm a 5/8 teacher on Swift House at Wilson Central School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meg O'Donnell. I teach humanities to 7th and 8th graders at Shelburne Community School.
And welcome, everybody. I was just commenting before we got on how great it is to see folks who we've been working with for such a long time. And those type of professional relationships are what this is all about. And it's just great to see folks. We are starting off the year in very different circumstances from a normal, quote, I guess, normal school year. And it's even different from last year when we were very prepared entering a pandemic. And so I'll just start again with Lindsay, just asking maybe for just a brief description of your programming and what that's looking like at this time of year, and maybe the differences that you see between, I'm calling it, I guess, year 2 of teaching in the pandemic, and take it away.
Yeah, I feel like my perspective's a little bit different. So, but working as a organization, outside organization, supporting lots and lots of different school teams and district teams. What's different about this year is that we are, we're back working the teams in schools, and whether that is, like in person, but also knowing that we can do this hybrid and or in-person mix. And so we've been really busy in our, in September, it's been a lot of program launches and starts and kickoffs and events at schools to get things going. Lots, we, at the end of last year, I think it became even clearer to many schools and districts and individuals how essential youth voice and youth adult partnership is in this really critical time that we're in. And so we have a lot of teams that are ready to go. That's not to say that they're not facing challenges every single day, and that there are competing stressors and complications. But what I'm really just grateful to see is just the creativity, which is leading to some just really innovative thinking around how we can do this work to transform schools and really center youth in that work. So I think from our end, we're in a really busy time because we're really kind of launching a lot of really big systemic change projects and with teams. And it's both exciting, it's challenging, and it's exhausting. It adds another layer to the already daily exhaustion for people. So we're really mindful of that as well.
For us, it's been a pretty good start to the school year overall. All things considered, it's been really just, having kids in the building, having them with us in person is such a difference. And that's something that, I think we all felt so much last year, especially at the beginning of the school year. We have new students coming in, and for us, as we're the last 5/8 team in our school, and we really value those 5th through 8th grade connections. Before the school even starts, we have our mentor mentee. We couldn't do a breakfast this year because of COVID, but we still had like our get together and did their activities. And it's just like they had that person going into the school year that they knew and trusted. And we've noticed just such a big shift already, and what that does for the culture, being able to keep some of those beginning of the year traditions of having kids, it's those soft times where it's not academic, and some things that we really value more, honestly, is just like those times of having kids get to know each other, get to know us, build those relationships and foster those relationships. that we really missed last year, you know, sitting in rows, and it just everybody felt it last year. It just wasn't right. And we're still struggling with some scheduling stuff. That's logistical pieces, but no, we've been able to like kind of get into our global goals work, which is great. Starting the school year, some social justice pieces, some of our bigger traditions with our team building. Like we had our camp. Well, we couldn't do a camp out overnight, but we spent like a full day at Grand Isle from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and that was huge for the team. And then we're just getting into our theater unit right now, and it's working out. We knew it was coming, but we have a lot of kids in quarantine right now from outside cases, which, if I discuss, it's on the news. Wilson schools are getting hit pretty hard, which was expected, but we're doing our best with it. And I, day in, day out, I'm just so impressed with the kids. I mean, they show up, they try their hardest, they stay so positive in the light of everything and just kind of roll with it. And I'm just like, man, we're just so lucky, to be in this position, to be with them, honestly. And it's what helps, get me out of bed every day for sure, is knowing I'm working with these awesome kiddos. So yeah, good and bad for sure. But we're rolling with it and everything's going okay.
Kev, I've been thinking about you guys over there. We've been hearing through the district how challenging that is. So this has been an unexpectedly, I'm going to just put it out there, really challenging start. We've just been faced with some situations that have forced our hand. And so some things that we really were hoping to start the year with as a team related to what we learned from last year and what we wanted to bring forward. And we were like just so fired up in June. And then we've got a particular population of kids that's required some shifting and some imposed systems that we were hoping weren't going to be the case. So things that we always like want to advocate for at middle level, like great schedules and really like big blocks of time to do things, we don't have that. So that was kind of just like a bummer. And we've got some kids that we really just need to wrap around in lots of different ways. And so what that has meant is that so it's shifted some of the priorities in this and and that's okay. Like, we're going to be fine. We're going to get through it. I have to echo what Kev said about just having the kids in 5 days a week. And them seeing each other and seeing and being together. I think being with my colleagues 5 days a week and not being in this sort of split system has just meant that, where we were commenting that last year we would have like maybe 3 adults on the team with 40 kids, we now have like 10. And so it's been really nice. That part's been really great. And inspired, this is my sort of 3rd year on a new team. The first year ended abruptly in COVID, and last year we were in COVID. And so this year, Wendy and I, my colleague who teaches humanities, we were really like, we need to do the curriculum development process with kids. We absolutely, we value that. We want their voice. And so despite like this chaotic schedule and some of the challenges that we've had, we're doing it. And I love it. It's like, it's so validating. And I just keep saying to the kids, like, this is what we know about what is important in learning, is hearing your voice and having you build curriculum with us. What do you care about? What bugs you? What are the problems that you want to fix in the world? And so we just had a fishbowl today where the kids shared out some of their processes, and Wendy and I are meeting to figure out what the next steps are in that curriculum, and then we'll go from there. So it's been strengthening, I guess, in some ways, affirming and motivating.
That sounds awesome. And just such a wide palette of experiences. Right now, I am starting a new program on sustainability. And sometimes I feel like I'm really wallowing and trying to figure out where the best direction to go is. I have full disclosure, I am working with Up for Learning with trying to build the program, and we didn't have a time to meet with our student advisory board who had started last year through the Cultivating Pathways to Sustainability. And we finally found one and got that organized. And so I met with the students on Monday, this past Monday, and I just want to concur with what everybody said. It's just so important and amazing and awesome to have kids at the table. And that's been a real lifeline for me. And now we're starting we're going to meet every week, and we're working on the goals that they had created for the program based on the data that they did from last year. And that's sort of been driving the program. The difficult part for me, not the difficult part, the challenge, I think, is I need to have kids with certain background knowledge, like you see behind me, the UN SDGs, while at the same time wanting to get them right into that project-based hands-on learning and leadership. And so even with I think I have a lot of experience in the classroom, but even with that experience, I'm still feeling that it's going a little bit slow, and that it's too much of me talking and not enough of them doing. And so that's been a challenge. How do you ramp up the program with the background knowledge and the learning progression across grades 5 through 8, so that when the current 5th graders I have are 7th graders, they can walk right in and say, yep, Mr. Taylor, we know that, we want to start right in on our project. So that's sort of where I am. The good news, for me at least, is that some of the strategies that I learned last year during COVID, we were 5 days a week in person, such as mindfulness, I've carried forward with me. So we're doing mindfulness across all of my grades, which has been really important. And the other thing is that I have long block periods, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, which has been awesome. I have 90 minutes with my 7th and 8th graders, and then I see my 5th and 6th graders every day. But on Wednesday, I see like all the kids, like it's 45 minutes with all the kids. And so we're taking these community walks where we're walking around the community, and we're starting to tag different elements of the community with the UN SDGs. And so yesterday we went over, for example, to Union Elementary School, and we looked at a rain garden they have there. And I think Kevin mentioned the soft times, like just walking and being outside, I think does so much for the kids. And I think that's really been beneficial for me. The other thing that's been awesome, and something I was terrified of doing this year, this is my first time ever with 5th graders. And I did not know what to expect. I walked into the room and I was like, oh my gosh, we have 5th graders. What am I going to do? And it's been awesome. I love the 5th graders. That's been one of my most sort of rewarding experiences. They're just really neat, a really great group. And I'm kind of thrilled with the challenge of working. And it's amazing to me too, how different 5th graders are from 6th graders, and the unique challenges that each of those groups pose. So starting a new program, wallowing a little bit, relying on my professional partners at Up for Learning to help guide me, and also just really enjoying being with the kids in some sort of, the walking and being outside and making a lot of observations. So that's been really good. I was just going to introduce Joe Rivers, but I see he got up and walked away from the screen, so that'll have to wait. What I am interested in too, though, I guess, is he coming up? There he comes back. But I think he's going away again. This is like I'm not good at play-by-play, but we'll see. There he is. He's doing his duty, giving the handout to the kid, escorting him to the door, I'm sure with some words of encouragement. We'll see if he comes back in the frame anytime soon. He's probably talking about the weather, local events, the history piece that Joe wants him to cover on the radio program. Up, and he's gone. He's out of the screen. So up, and he's back. So let's see. Hi, Joe. You just missed my play-by-play of everything you were just doing. Would you like to jump in and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Joe Rivers. I work at Brattleboro Area Middle School as a teacher. Here I am. Good to see y'all.
So it's great to see you, Joe, and it's great to see you in a classroom, it looks like.
Yeah.
We've had many months of broadcasting from the basement or the home front, and now we're in a classroom. And Joe, we just did a quick roundtable about how it's going for you in your start. Would you like to add your thoughts about the start to your year?
Sure. When I was about 7 years old or so, my family went to the ocean, and I rode on this boat for the first time on the ocean. And it was crazy. I had no idea it would be so different because you're going up and down all the time, and you get kind of wobbly, and you have to establish your sea legs. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm 7 years old, and I'm on that boat, and I'm trying to figure out how to stand up. And it's cool, it's exciting, but it's different.
That is a great description, and that encapsulates much of what folks have been describing in their start to this school year. My next question, I guess, is both about relationships and also about equity and anti-racism. That's been something that we've been talking about quite a bit in the last few years. And I'm just wondering how folks, number one, how folks are thinking about relationships now. Some of you have kids coming back into the classroom who have not been in school for more than a year, in some cases 18 months. And we have, as Kevin, I think Meg was mentioning, we have shifting populations of kids perhaps. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are right now about and how you're dealing with equity or anti-racist teaching, and what that's looking like. As Joe said, we're gathering our sea legs often in new situations. And again, I'll start with Lindsay, and then I'll just put the order of speaking in the chat as Lindsay is addressing.
Again, I really can only address this from like an outside organization supporting those that are like doing the work every day. So I don't really, I think for us, in the work that we're doing with our teams, it's really, it's at the heart of the work. And if it's not, then, perhaps we've lost our, our balance a bit. And so, I would say most of our work that we're doing with school teams and districts and our youth leaders is around anti-racism, equity focused work. I mean, that's for Up for Learning. We believe that educational equity is a basic human right. So if that's not at the heart and core of everything that we're doing, then we're not in the right lane. So I don't really have much specifically to offer except that we have our youth facilitators from Vermont and Pineywood School in Mississippi, and are going to be co-planning. I'm working with them tomorrow. The first racial justice dialogue for youth and adults is happening Wednesday, September 29th. I believe it's at 9:30 on Zoom. And this is following up from last year. There was, I think, 9 or 10 racial justice dialogues that happen every month. And our facilitators from Pineywood School in Mississippi and Vermont are fully going to be planning it and building it based on where we left last year. And so I would highly encourage anyone who can to have your class, to have your whatever, join the dialogue. I mean, it's really that's what it's there for. And one thing I will say around equity is last year there was just a lot of flexibility in how we did our learning. And one thing that we're noticing from an outside organization is that and I heard this from Meg, is that we've fallen back into some really tightly structured schedules that don't allow a lot of flexibility, creativity, and innovation. So so that's been kind of a bummer to see. And so we are constantly really supporting teams and thinking about how can we not get locked into these schedules that are just too many transitions, lack of connections and relationships, and no time to really be flexible to do the things that we were doing last year, like the racial justice dialogue, where people could just hop on a Wednesday, and so I'm just hoping to see that we've learned something from that experience last year around flexibility and how we can learn in different ways too. So I don't think that really answered your question, but it looked like you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did. And Lindsay, actually, in a roundabout way, I think you just answered it really, really clearly. And I guess what a better way of phrasing it is, what are the challenges that you've seen coming up this year that have made that work, that flexibility, creativity, and innovation around the work that we're doing towards that educational equity? What challenges have you seen? Because some of the things you just mentioned, this tightly structured return to schedules where there's not a lot of flexibility, where there's not a lot of time to explore these issues in open discussions, I'm seeing those as challenges. And I'm just going to throw it out there, like some of the COVID stuff, we've got to get kids caught up. We've got, kids miss school, and this sort of thing is superseded in my experience. It's starting to supersede some of the unbelievable dialogue and movement that was happening last year. And so I guess that's sort of where I'm coming from. And that's what I'm starting to see. And I'm very, it's making me a little anxious that some of the great work that happened last year is not facing challenges.
Yeah, I just would say one more thing, because then it's not my turn anymore. It's Kevin's turn next. I would just say that there are some schools that really took the lessons from last year around like that flexible Wednesday option. And I was working with a school yesterday where they have an early release on Wednesdays now. And we were working with 3 different youth advisory councils that are working on the 3 different kind of PLCs. There are youth now infused into all those PLCs and professional learning communities. And they're thinking about how to flex, is Wednesday a flex day? Is it a this day? Is there flex blocks? There are schools that did take those lessons and recognize that maybe slowing down a little bit instead of trying to catch up. Like, what are we catching up to? Because really what young people need, what they need is they need to be supported, cared for, connected to each other, and in dialogue. That's what they're craving, is to have time to really dig into the issues that matter to them and to feel a sense of safety. So I will say there are schools that did really take those lessons learned and they're incorporating them into it. There's still a lot of work to do. Like, why are we going? I almost feel like in some places the schedule's more rigid than it's ever been. And that's just from the outside looking in, because it's harder for us to coordinate, like, hey, what would be a good time to do this thing? Like, well, we can't miss math. We can't miss this, and so it's like before we could be flexible in our schedule. That's what we do in middle school, right? And so I'm seeing there's a little bit more, in some places there's more rigidity, and in some places they have taken those lessons and have been creative.
I feel like I had something and said that. I was like, oh man, this is it's always new things. That's what I love about these conversations. I feel like I always feel like a broken record on here, because I'm very fortunate and lucky to have landed on this team, where I think historically, as the team was created, they were always swimming upstream in a way and against the current. And we're just like the black sheep of the family. So we just kind of, that's what we do. Because we're facing those issues right now with our schedule, and just that, like, we have specific intervention blocks now, which I don't really want to go down this road. But anyway, it's not promoting, even though they say like, oh, we're focused on SEL in the school. And I'm like, well, we're not. We have to be actually doing it then. And because no place that shows up on our schedule does it show that that's something we care about whatsoever. So it's frustrating to see that pop up on a bullet in our district, but not see us walk the walk. So with that, again, I'm very grateful to be on this team, just because we, I think we all recognize we're on the spectrum, of equity and social justice, and really, trying our best with it. And, starting the school year with, we did social justice lit books to start in our small groups, just talking about some of those themes to get the kids grounded and just having those conversations. We talked about it during advisory. Everything we do now, I feel like, is through that lens, which is a really cool place to be. And what I love to do is, like, I did some reading over the summer. I know, Alex Venitz, if you haven't read it yet, the Equity Center Trauma Informed our education book, like, rocked my world a little bit toward the tail end of summer. And I just love it, because every time, like, I'm making good progress on this, and then I read something like, I'm not even close yet, and it gets me that much more pumped up to, like, do more and try better and just, like, get better for my students and just for our whole culture here. So it's just cool that, like, I bring these messages in, and we just always have conversations on our team about it, and we're always, like, bought in, like, yeah, like, this is kid-centered, like, let's keep the students at the center of it. And when we do that, equity is also at the center, and trauma-informed practices and social justice is at the center when you're thinking more from the student-centered standpoint. So with that, I feel like we've had a decent rollout with a lot of this stuff. There's always opportunities for us to do way better than we are, but I do like where we're at as a team in terms of making time for it still in our schedule. Like, we're more than happy to take up a math block or go into humanities class or science if it's something that we recognize that has this value. We're not going to say, oh, we can't do this because of XYZ. Like, we commit to it. And if other people get upset with it, then we have those conversations. But again, very grateful that we have that opportunity, and it's great to just have these resources. And like, Meg, when hearing you talk about the fishbowl activity, because, like, we're thinking about launching this activist project. I was thinking about how should we kick this off with student voices. I'm like, getting them to tell us, like, what are the issues they want to look at, and then we can help provide the resources, looking at different activists throughout it's just the brainstorm start happening. This is why I miss these conversations. I'm glad that we're back at it. Over to you, Meg.
Thanks, Kev. Oh gosh, I too, I just cherish this time together with you all. Something some of the work that I focused on last year was around building norms in my classes, and realizing that that was really going to be a core piece at the start of the year, was how do we remember back into this group, what does it mean to be a learning community? And I had to throw away, like, a lot of what I thought. I keep needing to remind myself and research almost how we establish norms with kids when we're trying to do it with, like, 80 as opposed to, say, like, 20. And I say 80 because our team really felt strongly that we wanted a consistent message. We wanted all voices at the table, and we wanted this consistent message. And so we took some time to, and we're still taking the time, like, even though it's week 4 or whatever, it feels like, in some ways it feels like it should be November, and in other ways it feels like it's the second day of school. I don't know, like the sense of time is fluid. But something I'm really psyched about is that we're trying to be really responsive to the population that we have, to recognize that for some kids, they miss hybrid. They missed their days where things were just structured differently, where the pace was a little bit slower. I think as teachers, we sometimes miss that as well. And we, against our best judgment, are putting them into a tremendous amount of transitions. And so we do have this flexibility on Wednesdays, and we are really trying to leverage those days as, what does it mean to be in a learning community, and what do you want? And you know, it never fails. When you go to the kids, they tell you, and they do it so well. They just, I wish I could go out to the Commons and show you, like, these were the word, like we just said, let's just pick words that describe it. And they had like, you know, just safe, fun, interactive, respectful, connected, grounded. Like they just had this great group, like pile of words. And, you know, without over surveying them too much, but we are really trying to find lots of different ways to get their voice in the conversation. And when I asked, sent out this survey the other day about what bugs them, what's something that bugs you, that like a problem that you want to fix. And it wasn't like the cafeteria or like more lunch and recess. It was racism, equity, homelessness. These kids are coming to, you know, so again, I think there's a testament to what's happening in the elementary school, those conversations that have been feeding this dialogue, so that when they come to us, their social awareness, their social justice awareness is broad, and they're altruistic. They're thinking outside themselves. And so if I just, I don't want to burn out the surveying and the ways of getting their voices embedded into what we're doing, but I'm just finding it so invaluable right now. And it's, despite the challenges, despite the, like, I don't know, what do you call them, like a vice grip or whatever those things are, that feels like they're squeezing us a little bit. We're still like relying on the practices that we know that uphold kids and learning and community and justice. So I'm excited to see what I'm going to say to you in a month from now. I'm looking forward to what that conversation will be. It's all you, Don.
Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Joe and hear what Joe has to say. I'm still thinking about stuff that the speaker before said, and I'm just doing some really hard listening, because some of these things that you're bringing up are really important, and I'm pondering them. Joe.
Well, we too are suffering with a new schedule, and it's a roadblock, and so it's a conundrum. It's something you got to work your way through and try to find the right path, you know, another path, another way to go. Our students have 8 transitions in the day, and I have 6 groups of kids, 90 of them all together. And so it causes you to think differently and try to move forward and still try to get to your goals. And some of it, I'm just trying to model what we've already done. And so as others have said, I think we've had experiences in which we feel like there's been some success in other venues or in other ways of doing this stuff. And so trying to demonstrate that to the students, to give a voice to things that they might not already be thinking of. This Sunday, we have a group of students who are meeting with the town manager, and we're still working on a project that we started a few years ago. Some of the students are now sophomores in high school, and it's again trying to change the Civil War monument at the town common, and to update the information so as to recognize everyone who participated. And so we're doing things like that. We work with the Public Works Department to help them create historical signs in town, which again acknowledge and recognize all the folks who helped put the town together in different ways over time and change the narrative of what the history of the place is. And so those are some projects that students in high school now had started, but they're also things that the students that I have now are picking up and then moving forward with. So and I think it's like the green team that Don has been working on for years as well. Part of what I do is because of what he talked about years ago, this idea of you get a group of kids and you move them forward and you don't worry about boundaries and you just try to take their messages and you try to go with it. And so trying to find a way to do that in the structures that we get this time. And then to also do the relationship building. We're a developmental design school. And so we go through the social contract process, and the students are great. Again, whenever you ask them, they're going to tell you what we need to do. Respect and accept each other's boundaries and identities. That's where we're coming from. That's where the young people are coming from. And so that's the message that we're going forward with when we look at what we're going to be studying and what we're going to spend our time on. One of the things I try to keep in mind, we have these proficiencies and all these, all the stuff we're trying to do, but really the bottom line question is it good work? Ask your students, is it good work? The time that you just spent on that, do you feel good about it? And the same for us. When we look at our day and we look at how we work with our students and the young people and the interactions we have and the interactions they have with each other, was it good? And if you can say that, then the rest of it maybe isn't, for me anyway, it doesn't have the same, I'm not bothered if there are some things that I haven't crossed the T's on or dotted the I's on. So that's the conversation I try to have with the young people and with the staff that I work with. Try to answer that question and then try to go forward with it.
Thank you all. There's just some pieces in that I think, so as I mentioned, I'm starting a new program, and after 17 years teaching humanities, I'm a special now, which means I'm pretty much kind of on my own. I'm not on a team, which has been a little bit different. And I'm trying as hard as I can to it's like starting new in some ways. One of the things I'm struggling with is how do you create those relationships? I used to be on a 2-person team, so I'd see kids every day for like 2 years. And how do you create those types of relationships when you only have kids for a trimester or a quarter, and then you have to start all over again? And so how do you get to the good work after you've already established a really quality and good relationships with kids? So that's something that I'm trying to figure out. And the other thing that, as Joe mentioned, our schedule presents a lot of challenges, a lot of transitions. And I just keep thinking to myself, what are the systems that we've created that are setting kids up for failure, right? Like, you have to be here, you have to be on time. And what happens when kids aren't, and are they just getting, are they having negative interactions with people based on a system that's been set up to that creates hurdles for them? You know what I mean? Like, a kid has to get from the 3rd floor to my room, and if they're late, and so, as Joe said, that's not really a big deal. I mean, I care about a kid and their safety wherever they are, but if you're late, let's have a positive interaction, go out of your way to support that kid, try and get them caught up, and make the classroom a friendly place where kids want to be. And I also am just trying it's really hard to get to a place where you don't have a reputation with the program, so kids don't know what to expect when they're coming in. And how do you build it so that a 5th grader says, oh, I can't wait to be in sustainability again next year. And then they come in ready to do that good work. So that's been something that I've been thinking about. I think Kevin and Lindsay both touched on this, is what did we learn from last year? And last year I had my kids in a pod. I could structure that time however I wanted, right? So if we wanted to take longer on an important discussion, we could do that. If I wanted to send a kid, or a kid wanted to go to one of those racial justice dialogue, that's no problem, right? But now, in order, there's so many other moving parts that it's difficult to do that. And I also keep thinking about something Lindsay has said frequently, is the slow education movement, like the slow food movement. Why haven't we slowed things down? Because when you slow things down, everybody's more relaxed, everybody is more thoughtful, and the interactions you do have with those kids, I think, are way more nuanced and positive, as opposed to when you have these kids are just spinning through their transitions all day long. And when I talk about or think about equity, I think about who is this system serving? Because the kids who are organized, who have it all together, they can manage it. The kids who are struggling, they can't manage it. And so they end up having sometimes negative experiences, which is going to set them farther afield in terms of bringing them into the fold of these caring learning communities where their identities are respected, as Joe mentioned. So that's, one thing, or a couple things, or 9 things that I'm working on. And I just feel like Joe Rivers talks about all the time, start with the students, right? And in order to start with the students, you need to get to know them. You need to have really positive interactions. And not to mention the fact that some of these kids are still in a traumatic, like a lifetime traumatic event, which is the pandemic. You know what I mean? It's like, goodness gracious, what are we doing? Why aren't we taking it easy? Why aren't we having kids go out in the community? Why aren't we just taking kids on walks, having mindfulness, having yoga, all the things that we use to manage our stress? And I guess the last thing I'll say is that when we have all these transitions, I think that stresses teachers out too. Who's in this class? I have to write down, like Joe, on Wednesdays, I have 6 classes, and I have to write down where I finished with each of the classes so that I don't like start the next class. Okay, we're going to watch this video. Mr. Taylor, we've already done that, and it just gets you so like conflustered. And I just feel that's sort of one of the challenges. But back to that equity piece, I really feel like those rigid structures and those you have to be here and you have to transition there, I think those are inequitable systems. And I think it's not right. And I think that it's a step back in a lot of ways. And I'm just trying to figure out what we think we're doing, because we all know the kids who struggle to get to class on time and, for any odd reason, and why are we just setting up more and more challenges for them? So that's my bit on that. But I deeply, and one thing that Lindsay said too is like, why don't we have students on our PLCs? That seems like a no-brainer. You know what I mean? And I like, hello, why aren't we doing that? And I'm going to bring that up at my next meeting. That would be great. That would be helpful. And I bet it would be challenging to get other people to say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, Don. Instead, but we'll see. I'll report out. The last question, and I think Lindsay may have to step out here. So maybe Lindsay can go first. What's one of the positive things that you are working on right now, or that you are really focused on moving forward, and that could be a goal for your program, or something that you're applying to your work on a daily basis? Just, a positive thing that you're working hard on.
Yeah, I think for us organizationally, the number of youth leaders over the past year and a half has grown so tremendously. We used to have, a handful of youth facilitators. Now we have 40 youth facilitators. We have a youth advisory council that is about 25 youth from across the state and also outside of our state now. And I think just building more and more opportunities for young people to come together so for many reasons for our organization, they're co-creating, co-designing, and co-facilitating all of our programming and advising our organization. But just providing more and more opportunities, paid opportunities, compensated opportunities for young people to step into youth leadership roles. Many of these are young people who perhaps would never step into these roles or be offered these roles in their actual schools. And so I think that's something I'm feeling really happy and proud of, is that there's just more and more youth that want to be involved in this kind of work, and they want to come together with us as adult partners and really dig into this work and co-design, co-construct these experiences for schools to create change. And I just really, really enjoy working with young people in that kind of capacity. So, and I apologize, I do have to run to the next Zoom meeting, but it was nice seeing you all.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. And just a quick reminder about that racial justice dialogue is September 29th.
Yes,
And-
September 29th.
And then the Cultivating Pathways.
Cultivating Pathways kickoff has moved to October.
21st, is it?
No, October, I think I wrote it down on here, 13th.
Okay.
Some schools were just quite kind of like trying to get things organized. And so it felt like there needed to be a little more room for teams to form. So the actual kickoff is going to be October 13th, and it'll be virtual. And let us know if you're interested in having a team join.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lindsay. We'll see you next month. Take care. Thanks for all your great work.
Thanks. Bye.
Kevin, what's one thing that you're working on?
Honestly, it's like I said, over the summer, I just did some more professional reading, and it's been really exciting just to apply some of that, the themes and messages and new ideas to our current practice, and revisit some of our things that like we've lost a little bit last year with our traditions. And what's exciting about being on a 4-year team is our 8th graders, like the last time they experienced some of the traditional things that we do was when they were 6th graders. So we're just, I don't know, really, really excited about finding more opportunities to, I feel like, empower our students in various ways, to keep them connected. I think that's like one thing we're really pushing this year is connection. Like, first and foremost, how are we connecting with our kids? How are they connecting with each other? And finding just different avenues for that to combat our schedule. And that's the tricky piece right now is we know it's going to be an uphill battle, but yeah, that's something I'm really excited about. It's just like our opportunities to kind of get back into like things like right now. We're in our theater unit. Kids are really pumped to be working together on that, and they're like jazzed up by it. And it's just like great to see them in that space collaborating together. So I'm like really excited to give more of those opportunities and just keep learning from them as we go.
Thanks, Kev. I am really just fired up about creating our curriculum with kids and co-constructing those learning experiences. And I just want to make sure that I do it to the fullest and hold the line. I can see the pressures of their needs and the system's needs. And I just, I'm excited. I'm a little wary, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm looking forward to it. Joe.
We have some community projects that I'm excited about. I guess that's one thing. Working with different organizations in town and having them. We have the garden clubs coming in Tuesday to talk to students about how they help maintain some of the. It's community service, really. They help maintain some of the public parks in our community, and they're all these white-haired old ladies, and they'll come in and it'll just be wild, just the whole idea. 8th graders who I don't really know that well yet, who are going to be talking to folks who are 60 years older than they are, and it'll be cool, I think. So that's something that I'm looking forward to, just continuing that and then feeding off the kids' interests So they think they wanted to chase this story. Okay, we'll chase this story because there was well, you don't need to know all the background, but there was a reason why they wanted to do it. And so, all right, we've done that one, and now what are we going to do next? And just the whole flow of it. And so fundamental to all that is that this part of the year is so important. I'm with 8th graders that I didn't have last year. Usually I'm on a 2-year team, but I was remote last year. Most of this group has already found their footing in this building. And so now my task is to try to work my way in and to do it in a way that I'm accepted by more than we're accepting of adults last year. And so it's a hard challenge, and it takes a lot of thinking. And I wake up at 3 o'clock every morning thinking about it, and then thinking, all right, what can I do? So it's exciting though too. That's the part of it. That whole relationship thing is the heart of everything. We always say that, but for me this year, that's really, really true. So I'm enjoying that challenge, although some days are really hard.
I just feel like such a novice. I mean, it's sometimes the daily challenges. I had this beautiful slideshow set up to use with a particular platform, and it wasn't working today, and it didn't work all day long. And so I had to scramble. And the way my schedule is set up, if something goes wrong, I have about 6 minutes to figure out an alternative. And if you don't, you're scrambling. And I have 24 6th graders for my last class. And so if they sniff even a molecule of chaos, the game is up. And so I have to be as highly energized as possible when my gas tank is kind of low during the day. But I think the way that you said that, Joe, about I don't have time to think that deeply about the relationships. You know what I mean? And I think that I love the challenge of having 3 different or 4 different age groups, almost like 5th graders and 6th graders, and then the 7th and 8th. I think that's a great challenge. I really miss having multi-age rooms where your 7th graders can, see and watch. And then as 8th graders, they say, oh no, this is the way we do that. And remember when you did this? And so those types of traditions that are passed down culturally. What I probably haven't mentioned is that I have 2 rooms this year, and my back room has 4 kitchen units and refrigerators. And I'm scared they had a community program last night, and a kid's walking around, a 7th grader walking around asking the chef, where are the knives? And I'm like, my blood ran cold, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to be doing in like a week or 2 with, kids who struggle with a pencil sharpener, and they're going to be using chef knives, or maybe not. But I want to get them cooking. And our community walks, there's a refrigerator outside a market, and it turns out it's a give food, take food refrigerator. And so I'm thinking that one of our first projects could be to have the kids make some food and put it in there, and everybody survives. And then we do it again the next week because we have a relationship with a local farm where we can be getting produce. And so there's some awesome ideas on the horizon. Having a greenhouse here, figuring out a way to make maple syrup and tying that to climate change and sustainability and things like food insecurity, and all the local organizations that are based here in central Vermont that are actually, I think, crying out to help schools and students. So developing those relationships and partnerships over time with local organizations, I think, is something that is just starting. And that's where I get really excited and really hopeful. And also having kids make media about this, newsletters and podcasts and videos, about the experience so that you have a program that is run by kids. And that to me is where I'm headed, but that might be a couple years down the road. I'm not sure. Otherwise, like I said, the 5th grade has just been such a joy. It's just so interesting. I don't know if you are dealing with poppets in your classes, but that's something new. When I go into that classroom, it's a poppet world, and I have to learn how to manage that, actually manage my anxiety around the poppets. But again, it just comes back to, I think kids are craving those relationships and making those as positive as possible when in some ways it seems like we're trying to, our schools and our systems and our organizations are trying as hard as possible to challenge some of the kids who most need those great relationships that takes time to develop. So it's been, like Joe, I think you said, there are some days that are awesome, and there are some days where you wish you had a do-over at the end of the day, I think. But that's been really good. And I tell you what, it's really good to hear from all of you experienced educators, because the nuggets that I get from these conversations are really powerful, and they will keep me thinking until we meet again next month. Before we close, I'm going to give an opportunity for anybody if you have any last words. But before we close, I just want to mention again that Up for Learning Racial Justice Dialogue is happening September 29th. Also, author Jacqueline Woodson is speaking at the University of Vermont on October 4th. That starts at 4:30, and I believe that's free and open to folks who want to hear her. She's talking about writing empathy and the magic that happens when teachers see their students in the context of the bigger world. And then on October 5th, there's a learning series, Lead, Interrupt, and Dismantle, to promote and cultivate equity within public schools. And then the final one is our next conversation will be happening on Thursday, October 21st. But before we sign off, does anybody have any last words or events that they would like to recommend or point out to our viewers?
I have one that Alex Bennett, who wrote the Equity Center Trauma Informed, has a class through Castleton that's starting October 4th and ending December 12th. It's a graduate credit course, but it's all based on leadership. So it's really geared toward people who I think are really involved with DEI coaching or making some change school-wide, district-wide. So if there's anybody out there that's in that position, it seems like it's going to be it's $975, I think, for the whole thing. So I don't know if people have school funds available that could cover some of that. It seems like it's going to be an amazing opportunity, though.
Kevin, would you do me a favor? Could you tweet that out and tag the Middle Grades Collaborative and also Tarrant Institute? And that just reminds me, one last thing, Liberated Ed and Dina Simmons have fellowships available for New England educators. The application is on October 1st, and that has been tweeted out on the Middle Grades Collaborative Twitter feed. It's also on the Middle Grades Collaborative website. And I'll be tweeting that out again. But if you know anybody who is interested in that, please have them contact myself or Dr. James Nagel of the Middle Grades Collaborative. Meg or Joe, any suggestions or things you want to highlight? We're good. All right, people. Thank you so much for all your work. Hope to see you in October. Meg, you talked about time. Is it the second day or the second month? I'm not sure, but we will see you in October. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and enjoy your Friday and weekend. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thanks. Good to see you all.
Good to see you. Take care.